Doug and Ashley Benefield both had been married previously when they met. Not a lot is known about Ashley's first marriage, but Doug had just lost his wife Renee to an undiagnosed heart condition. Renee died 9 months before Doug met Ashley. And after they met, their romance blossomed over text messages because Doug was traveling overseas for work. And when he got back to the U.S., he got together with Ashley. And they quickly married. In fact, they were hitched within 13 days of meeting. 54-year-old Doug, an entrepreneur, married to 24-year-old Ashley, a former ballerina. Together, they started a ballet company in Charleston, South Carolina. But as they were launching this expensive venture, Ashley got pregnant and moved to Florida to be with her mother. From that point forward, the relationship became very strained. Ashley accused Doug of stalking her, and Doug accused Ashley of preventing him from seeing his child. This battle was fought inside family court, and each time Ashley lost. Then the judge ordered psychological evaluations of Ashley and Doug. The results of those evaluations were going to be revealed in court. But just a few days before that hearing, Ashley shot and killed Doug. She claims self-defense, but the prosecution says it was murder. Tonight, we are live from the courthouse in Manatee County, Florida for day 2 of the Black Swan murder trial. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And, you know, the Constitution gives us a whole bunch of rights. And one of these rights I rarely exercise, but Ashley Benefield did. Banfield. Ashley Benefield doesn't either. Ashley Benefield did, which is the right to remain silent. Like, you don't have to say anything. You never have to say anything. You're being questioned by police, you don't have to say anything. You shoot someone, you don't have to say anything. So usually when we think about that, we think about it in terms of being questioned by police, right? There's like an interview room, an interrogation, body cam, whatever it is. You're being questioned by law enforcement, and maybe you're involved in something like a shooting, and you decide not to say a word. Criminal defense attorneys will tell you, that's what you're supposed to do. But what if you don't tell anyone else? Like no one else. You just shot someone, your husband, and you don't talk about it with anyone else. Well, I think that's what's going on here with Ashley Benefield. She has not told her story, which is amazing because this is a self-defense case. And usually in self-defense, you explain to whoever's asking, oh yeah, it was self-defense. They were coming at me. I had to save my life. It was so scary. I thought I was going to die. But that didn't happen here. She remained silent, completely silent, didn't tell anyone, didn't tell her mother. Now, Doug Benefield was shot by Ashley. We know that. He won't speak, he won't say anything about this, but he's on trial right now also. In a self-defense case, a victim ends up on trial. We've seen it many times on court TV. Some people look at it and say it's really an unfair advantage because the victim can't speak for his or herself, and Doug can't. But that's the way self-defense works. She'll have an opportunity, but she hasn't said anything yet. So to me, the biggest mystery surrounding or over this entire case is, what will she say when she does speak? What will she say? How will she say it? Will she be emotional? Will she be credible? Will the jury believe her? Will the folks in the court of public opinion believe her? It's going to be a huge moment. I expect it to happen in this trial. The only thing in this case that will absolutely shock me is if she doesn't get on the stand to tell her story for the very first time. Today was day 2, another big day down in Manatee County. Let's go down to Bradenton, Florida, where Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft is tonight covering all of this for us. Kelly, great to see you. Let's talk about today. This is going to be a quick trial, we know that. So we are sort of in the middle of the case already here on day 2, but tell us some of the big moments today.
Yeah, moving along really quickly. Good evening to you, Vinnie. So a lot of key witnesses took the stand today. I heard you mention her mother. So her mother took the stand, as well as several other people that were really important to the state's case. And the defense counsel probably scored some points as well. But another big thing that took place today is this dynamic that we've been watching and observing between defense counsel and the judge in this case. At one point, the defense counsel, Neil Taylor, just said, "I'm calling for a mistrial, Your Honor." And this was after he made a ruling on an objection. And Neil Taylor just said, "I am calling this because Ashley Benefield has been continually denied her right to cross-examine witnesses. So she is being denied her right to a fair trial." And seeing the judge's reaction to this, it was so nonchalant. He said, "Motion denied. Let's bring in the jury." So watching this, at one point, Neil Taylor said to the judge, "I think I'm going to be deserving a whooping," or something like that. So the judge even said to him, "I hope you're aware, and I believe you're aware of the decorum that is expected inside a courtroom." So a lot of big developments today, a lot of key witnesses, and I know we're going to talk about them, Vinnie.
Hey, let's talk about Ashley's mom. I think she's such an important part of this story and this case and this trial and what happened, because she is the one that Ashley went to. She left Doug, she left South Carolina, went to be with her mom, has remained with her mom. What about her testimony today?
Yeah, and that's so important because Ashley did. She went and wanted to be with her mom because she said that she was extremely sick during her pregnancy, and really her mom would be the only one that could take care of her. Her mom was also there on that day prior to when Ashley ended up shooting and killing her husband, Doug. And so she was asked about being present before the child, Emerson. This is the daughter that Ashley Benefield and Doug had together. They asked about what her reaction was before and why she ended up going to the park with Emerson. Let's take a listen to that testimony.
How far away was the park?
It's a short walk. I mean, we'd always walk over there, so I don't know. It'd take us maybe 5 minutes to get there.
Okay.
So.
And on this particular day, I think you told Miss O'Donnell, if I'm not mistaken, you were actually in the process of going with Emerson to the park when Doug arrived?
Yes. We were walking down the driveway, and I had her in the stroller.
And on this particular occasion, there was nothing unusual about you going to the park, just like you did regularly?
Yes.
So, Vinnie, defense counsel wanting to get across, like you heard there, nothing unusual about going to the park that day, because the state has kind of suggested that the reason they ended up going to the park is because Ashley Benefield knew what she was about to do and then sent them away to go to the park.
Which makes it a plan, right? She's planning and plotting this. That she's making sure that her mom's not there, but more importantly, that their daughter isn't there when all of this happens. So I guess you could look at it two ways of the two of them being alone in the house. Either it's part of the plan, so she can do it without having to do it in front of her daughter and not making her mother a witness to this. Or number two, from the defense perspective, that, hey, Doug got her alone, and this is when she was the most vulnerable, when she was alone with her alleged abuser. And speaking of domestic violence, a domestic violence detective also testified today.
Absolutely, Vinnie. And I think some of this testimony was probably the most damaging to defense's case, because what he talked about is the number of times that Ashley Benefield would call him. But what he would say in regard to that is she kept insisting to have him arrest her husband, Doug, inside a courtroom at a court of law, because she, according to the testimony today, was saying to him, that's really going to help in my child custody battle here if he is arrested inside a courtroom. Why don't we go ahead and play some of this detective's testimony?
She started crying again and came out with a comment, something to the effect of, I can't believe you're willing to allow Doug to kill me and the baby.
And at some point, did she change from crying again?
She did.
What did she do?
It just abruptly changed, and she let out like a screech or a high-pitched scream. And she says, I'll do whatever I have to do to kill my baby or keep my baby, you.
And I just think that's something that the jurors here, Vinnie, are really going to remember his testimony, because he was talking again about how she repeatedly kept calling, asking for her husband to be arrested. And then finally she says, you're going to just let him kill me and my baby. And he said that he'll never forget that, because he's really never heard anyone get that excited and say something like that in all of his years, after they called so many times. And then the level just kept increasing because he was not arresting him inside a courtroom.
That's such a, and this is one of the issues the jury really has to decide about, right? Is she setting him up because she's in this custody battle and her goal is to keep Doug out of her daughter's life? Or is she the actually scared and a victim of this monster, Doug Benefield? And that's what this case is coming down to. 2 people on trial, but only one of them is alive. Kelly Craft, live down in Manatee County. Looks like this thing could end this week, so we will speak again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Kelly.
Yeah, the state is expected to rest tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay, yeah. So if she testifies, you know, I don't know who else they're going to put on the stand, but we shall see. Thanks so much, Kelly. All right, let's bring in our special guest. Joining us, Doug Benefield's cousin and the Benefield family spokesperson, Tommie Benefield, back with us. He was also witness number 1 in this case. Tommie, great to see you tonight. So what are your reactions to how things are going in the courtroom? Like, because I've been saying this all along, there's 2 people on trial, right? Ashley's on trial, but so is your cousin Doug. How do you feel the evidence is going in so far?
I think the testimony so far has been very factual. Most of the questions by the state and a lot of the cross-examination by Mr. Taylor have just been focused on addressing the factual evidence in the case. In Mr. Taylor's case, of course, he has pushed the boundaries of pretrial decisions about what can and can't be talked about with every witness. And he appears, just like he did with me, to be pushing the boundaries, and even got called out by the judge today when he spoke out loud in front of everyone and said to a witness, you have no idea, as in you have no idea of what I'm going through in court. So it was a very interesting day. We're very, very happy with things that we did learn today, especially out of the Child Protective Services investigator, detective, and that was really, really damning as to what was said to him. And then he put that into his reports. I mean, it was a good day for getting the facts out. And, you know, once again, we just expect people to treat it fairly.
You know, what's interesting with this case is everyone is expecting Ashley Benefield to take the stand and testify and finally tell her story out loud and be cross-examined on her story. You've had much more interaction with her than any of us. What do you expect her to be like if she takes the witness stand, on that witness stand? How will she meet that moment? What do you expect from her?
Vinnie, first off, you portrayed it very well. Listening to her mother speak today and her mother indicated they never spoke ever, even to today, about the shooting and the killing that night. Barbara Russell said the same thing. You portrayed that very well, that she has remained silent, according to her own close confidants and her mother. If she goes to the stand, I believe we're going to be faced with her attempting to sway the jury, sway the court, the way she's attempted to sway every other person who's been in the professional side or the investigative side. And we heard from many of them today. The key tomorrow morning, as we lead into her possible testimony, is the medical examiner. And Mr. Taylor presenting the ninja warrior stance, which none of us would ever do if someone were holding a gun facing us. And the fact that he was shot from the side is going to come out tomorrow. So that whole line of defense of that just is going to be found out not to be true tomorrow, we believe.
Do you think she'll be emotional? Do you think she'll be defiant? And how do you think she'll react to a vigorous cross-examination?
As most of the detectives, police, and professionals that spoke with her during that time period and after have said, she can flip a switch very, very quickly, just like she did on the 911 call, from crying and sobbing to straight up answering questions, to yelling, to back to being aggressive. And that was everybody who testified about interactions with her said the same thing. I would believe she would do the same on the stand.
Do you believe at any time that she truly loved Doug?
Yes, sir. Certainly in the early part of 2017, late 2016, all the way through the time until she separated down to Florida under one ruse of being too sick and too sick with pregnancy to stay with Doug and all of his work on the ballet, to switching that up. She did love him, and when we met, she loved him when I came down one weekend and another weekend to be with the family down here in Florida. But that quickly changed, certainly over the time period. She and I had conversations after the separation. And once she began to believe all of her stories, there was no talking her out of it and no disproving what she was believing.
So you believe that she truly believed that she was being poisoned?
Yes, sir, or she's just a great storyteller with no evidence to back it.
But what I'm getting at is, do you think she convinced herself that she was being poisoned? That, like, maybe, you know, a little bit off, maybe a little off, and she actually was thinking, wow, I'm really being poisoned?
Well, I think there's a chance that she did that, but that's a possibility, not a probability from all the evidence and what we know personally about her. And certainly the connection that she had to Carlson Labs and them withdrawing the report they gave her may have given her some evidence, but that evidence was found not to be true from that lab. And that lab even pulled the evidence and the report back from her too, but she may have continued to hang on to that.
And do we know anything about her first marriage before Doug?
We know a little bit. Some of us have spoken with the gentleman in question. He's a Naval Academy graduate who went into the Marine Corps, went to flight school, ended up not getting to fly due to timing. And we don't know the very details, but he did talk with Doug. He did talk with Trip, who was Doug's best friend and married them at the time. And there was a lot of contact with him after the fact.
And before we go tonight, Tommie, everyone's still down there? Everyone's family's staying there, supporting, and Eva's holding up okay?
Yes, sir. Eva's, once again, just being very, very strong. She testified today, but she has not been released. So once again, we're just keeping people away from her, especially reporters. Her best friend and business partner still here. Doug's older cousin, Wes. His younger brother, older brother. Dave is a pastor. He's here. His wife, Roxy's here. My wife's here. So we've got our full complement still sitting on our side of the room.
Glad to hear that she's got that support. It's got to be so difficult for her. I mean, she lost her dad. She lost her mom at an age where, you know, you need your mom, you need your dad. And that's to me, the real tragedy here. Plus, little Emerson as well doesn't have her dad. Tommie, thanks so much. I'm sure we will speak again. Appreciate it. When we come back, they are here in studio, the think tank, locked and loaded, ready to go. Daryl Cohen, Jesse Law, Josh Schiffer, plus coming up next hour. A teenager admitted into a hospital gives birth by herself inside a hospital bathroom. The baby dies, and now this teenager is facing first-degree murder charges.
A former ballerina charged in the death of her husband.
Said that she attacked her and she shot him.
She's claiming that he is the aggressor in all of this.
I see a liar. I see a manipulator. She killed my dad.
Will the jury see her actions as self-defense?
Boy, did she have every reason to fear him.
Or murder?
The Black Swan murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
She gets to the firearm. She turns around. She orders Doug to stop. When she looks up, he's in the doorway. Instead of seeing the gun and leaving, Doug gets into this warrior pose with his arms moving purposely and advances. At that point, petrified, she fires.
That was the first time that we've heard about the warrior pose. And it didn't come from Ashley Benefield. It came from her attorney, his opening statement, which tells me I think she has to testify, right? Because your opening statement is, this is what I expect the evidence to be. Well, there's no fly in the walls coming into that courtroom who witnessed this. I mean, it's got to be her to talk about that. But we'll see, because she hasn't told her story yet. And it's interesting because there was a stand your ground immunity hearing where she went into court trying to get this case tossed and any civil case tossed against her. She wasn't successful, but maybe part of the reason was because of this.
Do you understand that in this hearing, you have the right to testify, you have the right not to testify, you do have the right to remain silent? Do you understand? Yes. And you understand you've chosen not to testify? Yes, sir. And is that your decision and your decision alone after speaking with your attorneys and consulting with them? Yes, sir. When we left off yesterday, State, we had finished with the direct and cross and redirect of Dr. Broder.
Yes.
So you prepared to call your next witness?
The state that rests.
State rests. Yes. All right. Mr. Taylor.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense rests.
Okay.
That was, and they lost, okay? They lost. The judge did not immunize her. That's why we're having this trial. But she didn't testify. Now, not talking in front of the judge or not giving a statement to police is one thing, but then how about never speaking to your mother about it? Never speaking to your mother. How about one of your really good friends who's also a mental health counselor and like a roommate? Not quite sure exactly the extent of the relationship, but someone who's very close to you. Didn't tell her either. Take a listen to their testimony today because it has people scratching their heads.
On the date of the shooting, what time did Doug get to your house? Do you remember?
No, I mean, it was, I can guess, you know, maybe like 5 or something. I don't know.
So it was still light out?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe in the afternoon sometime?
Yeah, I don't clearly know.
Okay. So when he showed up, what did you do? Did you stay there or leave?
I was leaving when he pulled up.
And where did you go?
We went to the park.
So at the time that the shooting happened, she didn't tell you what happened?
No.
Correct.
We've never talked about it.
And
Overruled.
to this day, you've never talked about it?
No.
Subsequent to the shooting that happened, she actually moved into your house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And who all lived at the house?
Myself, my husband, and my 19-year-old daughter.
All right. And approximately how long did she live at your house?
Approximately 8 months.
And you would see her on a daily basis?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Did she, when you first spoke, when did you first see her or speak to her after the shooting?
About 1 o'clock the following morning.
Okay, so this happened in the evening time, so it would have been 1 o'clock the next morning. And at that time, did she say to you, oh my God, he came after me, I had to shoot him? Did she say that?
She didn't discuss what had happened at all, nor did I ask.
Okay. And To this day, are you still in contact with her?
Not that one. I'll overrule on that question.
To this day, are you still in contact with her?
Yes.
Okay. And to this day, has she ever told you what prompted her shooting, Doug Benefield?
She never gave any kind of narrative of what prompted the shooting.
She loves to remain silent. This is like a defense attorney's dream, having a client who says absolutely nothing. Let's bring in our guest joining us in studio, our think tank, criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, former assistant DA in Atlanta, Daryl Cohen. Also joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney and civil attorney, Jesse Law. And finally, the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Great to see everyone tonight.
Hey.
Well, Daryl, this, like, have you ever seen this in a case where someone says nothing? Like, this is Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing.
I know nothing.
I say nothing.
They just dated the entire audience. I'm sorry.
I'm not dating the audience. I only date women.
You just asked out.
So what do you say? She's basically saying, none your business.
None your business.
And is she going to testify? That's my question. I'll tell you this. Her lawyer has perfected the art of objections. I don't think they're necessarily good objections, but there certainly are a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nothing like objections to disrupt the whole process. You might as well be talking and earning every dime that you're earning right there.
She has never told anyone, but presumably her attorney, about the warrior pose.
Oh, well, yeah, she's told the lawyer about the pose, but I'm not saying she probably hasn't told the lawyer a lot of things, because I don't think she's told anybody a lot of things.
She had to for the lawyer to make that opening statement, right?
Not necessarily.
And that's the key point.
Wait. Whoa. You have to give an honest rendition of what you expect the testimony to be. There's only two people there at the time. Doug is dead. Ashley's alive. She's the only one who could have seen the warrior pose. She's never talked to anyone about it. She had to tell her lawyer.
She should have, but maybe this lawyer...
He can't make it up, can he?
Of course, in an opening statement, you can make it up. The problem is, if you don't back it up, that becomes the problem. Oh, yeah.
I think she talked to her lawyer, and she sat there and she told him everything, and he told her, maintain this cone of silence with everybody else. You and I, we are the only two people who will ever know what happened in that room. And until I tell you to say something, you just keep mum.
Because she wasn't arrested initially. She was taken into custody, but she wasn't arrested.
Okay. And remember, the absolute silence, when you really have an absolute silence, which is the rarity that we have in this case, the state has a burden to prove someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt with no information to make a decision. How can a jury be certain that she's guilty? And
let me ask you this.
Let
me ask you this, though. What will a jury think of her credibility if she hasn't told anyone? Do you think they hold that against her? Not speaking to the police, because you can't even talk about that, but not telling mom what happened.
What I think...
Do you think they believe that?
I think Doug is testifying. And you say, how is he testifying? He's dead. Where the entry wounds from the bullets are, that's his testimony in death.
Well, that's true, but the undisputed fact is that she shot him and she killed him. And if she maintains this cone of silence where she's never told anyone about how her marriage was with Doug or what was going on with Doug, then there is a problem.
Right.
And
I just want to show you something. I want to take a look at the injuries that she sustained here in this self-defense case.
Hard to find, aren't they?
Well, I think it's her left ear, if you can see that, and then there's the scratches. There should be the left ear and the scratches. Look at that one. But that's not the biggest one. Look at that. Josh, self-defense? Does that scream self-defense to you?
Well, remember, with self-defense, you have a burden to carry because it's an affirmative defense. And generally, you would think they'd testify about that. But this is that unique unicorn case. She's never said anything to anybody. There is no evidence at all.
Daryl, objection, he didn't answer my question.
Yeah. Well, that's what this lawyer and lawyers doing the whole time.
They're staying with us.
I object.
They're staying with. When we come back, we're going to talk about motive. Motive in this case. Was there a motive for murder?
while they were living separate, they were still interacting with each other with the goal, the apparent goal, of seeking reconciliation, reconciling this family and becoming a family. They were going to restaurants, they were going to Selby Gardens, they were hanging out at the pool at Doug Benefield's apartment complex. By all images, they looked like they were trying to reconcile. The problem was, that is not what Ashley Benefield wanted. Although that's what she was portraying, that's not what she wanted.
And that's really what was going on here. It's kind of strange because she's conceded this, that she was telling Doug on the one hand, we're going to reconcile, but knowing that she wasn't going to reconcile. The question is, why was she telling him that? Was she telling him that to protect herself because she was in fear and didn't want him to know that she didn't want to reconcile? Or was it that she was kind of using that as a way to lure him to her home so she could murder him? I want you to take a listen to Stephanie Murphy. He represented Doug Benefield throughout all the family court hearings, which he won, by the way. Here she is testifying, kind of telling the story of what was going on in this battle.
When I arrived, I got into Doug's truck and we just waited because we were there early. And then he saw Ashley arrive with the baby. And so he pulled the truck closer, and then we both got out of the car and started walking toward Ashley. And then it was just an odd kind of interaction, actually. She turned to me with this nasty look on her face and said to Doug.
I'll sustain as to the characterization.
She turned to Doug and said, "Are you dating her?" And so obviously we both said, "Well, of course not, no." And then I hung back, and Doug then was standing there, and Ashley approached him with Emerson, and they started talking. Eventually, she let him hold the baby, and they just kept talking for a few minutes. Then I was advised that they were going to be leaving together, strangely, that Ashley was going to be going with them for the time sharing.
Was this a surprise to you?
Absolutely. We had just been in knockdown, drag-out litigation for months. I pulled Doug aside, and I cautioned him about going with her. I advised, I'm his attorney, and so I did advise him. I said, "This isn't a good idea. She's trying to set you up for something. Don't do this." And he said, "I understand. I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway." And so I stayed and observed as Ashley strapped the car seat into the back of the truck. Then she got in the truck with Doug, and then they left together for his first time sharing with his baby.
Okay.
For their baby.
So after this first time sharing, did this seem to start a time of peace, so to speak?
It was a time of peace. Actually, before the 26th, but on the 26th, Doug and Ashley both signed a stipulation that I had drafted at Doug's request, which expanded the time sharing that Judge Moreland had ordered at the hearing on the 17th. So within a week, they had already agreed that he was going to have even more time sharing than Judge Moreland had said.
Well, how long did that last, the peace?
It lasted, to my knowledge, about 11 months.
Okay. And during this 11 months, did you see Doug and Ashley?
I saw them in magazines. Actually, they were attending gala events together. And beginning on August 16th, 2019, they were not speaking to each other.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you ultimately file anything on Doug's behalf?
I ultimately did, yes.
Okay. And what was that?
We filed let me think back. It was so many years ago now. A series of things, but one of the first things that we filed was an amended petition for divorce.
And at some point after this was filed, did you get information that there had been complaints filed against Doug Benefield?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did Ashley file an injunction request based on these allegations?
Yes.
Okay. Did Ashley and Doug Benefield, to your knowledge, see a Dr. Broder?
Yes, they did.
For a psychological evaluation?
Yes. Earlier in September, I think on the 17th, Doug and Ashley signed a joint motion to release the psychological evaluation reports in the divorce case, in the 2018 DR 2318 case.
What was their path forward from that point?
The path that went into place was they were reconciling and moving to Maryland.
Speculation as to what the path forward was.
And so when we were leading up to the week that he was killed, it was agreed upon that they were going to result in an impasse of the mediation because they were reconciling, and then the hearing on the 30th, the week after, was only going to be to release a psychological evaluation report.
Okay.
And they were going to pursue the move to Maryland.
Okay. So ultimately, the only thing that was supposed to happen at this hearing on September 30th was the release of the psychological event.
That was it.
That was it. Okay. And do you recall what day of the week that was, September 30th?
I believe it was Wednesday. So the mediation was a Thursday prior to the killing, and then the hearing was supposed to be Wednesday the 30th.
Okay. And what day was Doug killed?
Sunday night.
And that would be the 27th?
Yes.
But in that psychological report, she's telling the psychiatrist that she doesn't want to reconcile, and on that Wednesday, that's when Doug's going to find out.
And why would you release that information while reconciling? Beyond illogical, just beyond illogical.
Well, maybe before deciding to reconcile, Doug should know that she doesn't want to reconcile.
I think her mind was a blender, and I think that press the button.
Ashley?
Ashley, the Black Swan. I think they'd press the button and the blender would start, and they'd press the other button, go faster, then put stop.
Is that why we dubbed it the Black Swan trial? Because she's delusional and she doesn't know what she wants to do, and she keeps thinking 1 minute I want to reconcile, the next minute I do not?
Do you think she's changing her mind, or do you think she's manipulating the situation?
It's both.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's
I
both.
totally agree. She's manipulating.
You really think that she doesn't know what she wants to do?
Oh, I think that she's unsure about the pathway to get what she wants, and she knows what
does she want? What does she want?
Everything.
Yeah.
What's everything?
She wants
Freedom,
she wants
the money,
her
the
child.
kid, the
She wants him gone. She wants the money. She wants to be what she wants to be, whatever that is. And again, I think we're pressing the button for the blender.
She wants to be independent of him. Now, that means that he needs to be out of the picture. Now,
wait, there's two parts of this, right? She wants to be independent of him, but how about the child? She doesn't want her child to have a father.
Hers. The child is hers. She doesn't want the dad to have any part of the child. She wants to be independent with her child.
Why is she indicating that she wants to reconcile? Why is she? Is it just so he'll pack the boxes into the
Could it be money? Could it be the money she wants from him to take care of her and the child as he leaves? But you know what? If I kill him because it's self-defense, even though it wasn't, maybe we can get the money without all of that. I think that her mind was going so quickly, going left, right, up, down, that she never knew anything.
Why did it happen that Sunday? Why do you think it happened?
It was probably a catalyst from a discussion.
Something that happened when the two of them are alone. Not a plan that, I'm going to say we're reconciling, so he'll come over, he'll pack the boxes, and it's a perfect situation. I'll send my mother and my daughter down to the park, and that's the opportunity.
No, I don't think. I think he showed. I think Mom and Emerson were going for that walk, and he showed up. Mom was there, saw him, but said, I don't want to deal with him. And he walked in, but we will not know what that conversation was about.
Or Mom said, you guys have been telling me that you're working it out and you're trying to get this figured out. And hold on, wouldn't be the first time a mom is or a daughter's lied to their mom about what the affairs of the heart. Who knows?
I think Ashley purposely kept her mom out of it. Purposely kept her mom away. She doesn't want mom to have any participation in what she's planning.
How about misleading the court, though, right? Well, you're kind of telling the court and indicating, listen, we're going to reconcile when you have no intent to reconcile, because that's what you're telling the psychiatrist the whole time is, I'm not going to reconcile. I'm telling them that we're going to reconcile, but I'm not going to reconcile.
Say what you want to say whenever you want to say. By the way, what was she doing instead of a purse having a gun so accessible?
It's Florida.
They both have guns. He didn't have a gun that night, but it was very accessible.
So they've clearly had a very tempestuous marriage. I mean, there have been evidence that he's punched a hole in the wall, he's shot a bullet, he's knocked a dog out unconscious. So clearly there's some kind of anger between him and her. But what we won't know is what happened at that conversation when he came over to the house. Did it get toxic? Did it get violent? I mean, verbally violent? Did he then suddenly do his warrior stance?
Do you think she believed she was being poisoned?
I think it's a definite maybe.
I'm going to hold you to that, Daryl.
You know, it's possible, or that's the story she's telling to excuse herself from out of this marriage. I mean, you're going to be throwing out all kinds of clues to anyone who's willing to listen, to say, you know, I'm not happy in this marriage, I want out.
There's another possibility. She could have had PTSD because the scratches, he had hit her before, he had shot
No, he
the
hadn't
wall.
hit her
Excuse me,
before.
He had hit the dog.
He had never hit her
but
before.
But he scratched her. So not a hit, a scratch, but not a light scratch. So she may have mentally had PTSD, the battered woman syndrome, and that's maybe why she had the gun so accessible.
I think
that's a possibility.
That's a huge reach, I think.
But it gets down to the fundamental problem. Two people were in the room, one of them got shot to death, one of them lived, and without any additional information, the state is absolutely within its rights to say, you killed him. It's on her. She's got to stand up and say what happened.
Just give me a number. 0 to 10, what are the chances that she's going to take the stand and testify? 10, definitely. 0, no chance.
6.
I think there's a 70% chance she'll take the stand.
Is that a 7?
7, yeah.
I don't think she takes the stand at all.
I said one word, a number.
Hey, 3.
Josh Schiffer, Jesse Law, Daryl Cohen, thank you so much.